What
up?
What up? Good morning and welcome to Double Funnel TV.
Welcome to Double Funnel TV.
And today is Friday.
Training Friday.
Training Friday. And I'm going to go over to Facebook. Did you have a specific topic?
No, not necessarily. I think what I'm going to talk about at RPN later, all of a sudden it came to me as we start going into the new year, how do you take and develop, how do you get off to a big start?
Yeah.
And
what do you mean by big start?
Well, how do you get back into gear? You know, I don't know about you, but consistently the people I've been talking to have said, it's been pretty crazy how at the end of the year, everybody just shut down. They kind of concluded their business early. It was like they were so sick and tired of 2018 that they just said at Thanksgiving, they just said, I'm declaring 2018 over. Even though there was, 5 weeks left to go or 6 weeks left to go, a lot of people kind of actually checked out. They just, they were there, but they weren't really there, one of those kind of things. And so in all that, it's funny because those of us who are entrepreneurial in nature, there's pretty much never a time we check out. Even if we're checked out, we're not checked out, you're kind of in action all the time. In fact, I was in a mastermind group yesterday, and it was funny. One of the mastermind participants is 92 years old. And he is as vital and as he's probably busier today than he's ever been busy in his life. Wow. And so during one of the breaks, we actually were laughing about, because somebody said, because we were talking about transition plans and succession plans and things like that in the business. And it was the topic was an entrepreneurial business. And so in one of the breaks, I looked over at him and I laughed and I said, I don't think we really do that. I don't think we ever really stop. I don't feel like I'll probably ever stop. Now, I might not do as much, or how I do it might change, or some of those kinds of things, right? But as far as once an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. You don't kind of all of a sudden say, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore.
Yeah, my husband was even complaining. We both own our own businesses. He's an attorney. And he was like, he always complains. He's like, I'm going to be shuffling around the courthouse when I'm 80. And I'm like, would that be terrible? Like, assuming you have a lighter caseload, like, you're never going to want to just sit down and play golf forever.
Well, and that's kind of where our conversation went. And it was funny because this gentleman's tremendously well known, and in fact not too long ago had a building named after him. And so we were joking about it all, and I said, well, hopefully I don't have to wait till I'm 92 for that. But it's an honor being around him and being with him. But the point is that he said that's how you stay vital at 92. You stay busy, you stay engaged, you don't do it. And so anyway, getting back into how does this relate to your business is really about engagement. It's about it's about developing and nurturing relationships over an extended period of time. And as an example, you might not talk to people every day. You might not talk to them for years. But when you do, if you, show dignity, honor, and respect, and you really work to nurture the relationship, quite frankly, that's how and why you don't have to talk to them every day.
Right.
Is because there is a working history when you do talk, when you do have those conversations or whatever, that there's value put back into it. So as we were talking about, how do you kickstart your business in 2019, or how do you really ramp it up, and how do you really do that? One of the easiest ways to do it, quite frankly, is to go back to existing customers. It's so much.
That's what we've talked about. Like, you've got 3 ways to make more money: new customers,
Right.
more money at the point of sale, and then your existing customers, getting them to buy more. That is the least expensive.
Yeah, and line extension. So, you only sell one item and now you sell 2. Okay, so sell old customers more product, sell old customers different product, sell new customers. That's really the only ways that you can do it, right? Is to gain more customers or do whatever. And so, but understand that when you gain new customers, you may or may not be able to turn that into immediate revenue, because there's a nurturing process there as well. So you might get them to, in the digital marketing sphere, make that EPO, right? That initial purchase offer, and right, a $10 sale. Woohoo! I made a new sale. And $10 ain't gonna float the boat, right?
Yeah.
But you did get a new sale. That part's good. I'm not trying to diminish that, but I'm just saying. So the most immediate way to probably significant revenues are to go back to existing customers along the way. We had that conversation yesterday, because in succession planning, one of the things that we were talking about is, how does the rainmaker position themselves to back out of a business, or slowly enjoy the fruits of their labor, or get off the road a little bit, or however you want to describe it, right? And the realization is that, to a certain extent, whoever you're transitioning this to is what they really, your value, or what they buy from you is really you. That your contacts, your reputation, your ethics, your everything along the way. And so it was a very interesting and enlightening day of talking about, how do you accomplish, quote unquote, slowing down your activity within your business, and yet having the business thrive and create a succession on where it goes from there. And so a lot of this talk came into existing customers, nurturing, doing those kinds of things. So I think a big part of growing any business is to go back to where your business is already coming from, and almost re-entering the 7 steps of the selling cycle, meaning going back into empower your sales. And that E in empower is examine the marketplace. So when you come back, there's one of 2 ways of doing this: is you come back and re-enter at examining the marketplace, which means you're going to explore existing connections, explore existing customers, and start to work that whole process again. Market to them. That's the M. Instead of making first contact, it's making new contact, or making another contact. So in essence, that's why the selling cycle it's interesting because I'm thinking about what I'm going to talk about, a couple hours from now. And what kept on coming back to me is I think sometimes, especially when I'm in a training mode versus a speaking mode, speaking mode, you just kind of pontificate and you just kind of throw some cool.
What's the difference to you?
Oh, there's a huge difference. Huge, 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 huge. So speaking, you share some wisdom, you share some knowledge, you do whatever. At the end, it's mic drop, you're out of there.
Yeah.
You're a rock star, everybody claps, everybody hugs you. Oh, isn't this wonderful? That was really awesome. No, I'm not going to do any of it. Right. But training is really a lifelong process. One of the ways that I say it to audiences is training is not an event. Training is a process. So if I were going to differentiate the two again very quickly, speaking is an event. Training is a process.
Okay.
And that becomes the real difference. And so as I was going through some of the things that I'll talk about later, as one of the things that I will say later on, I'm sure, is, some of this you will have heard before. And there's a reason for it, because it's foundational. And foundations of a building, if the foundation isn't strong, the building falls over. The wall, it shifts, the walls crack, the doors don't work right, all that, because the foundation isn't right. And so similarly in selling and in training, if the foundation isn't right, your business is going to crack. You're going to have holes in the floor. You're going to have all sorts of different things happen to you. So again, and it's interesting, very fortunate years ago now, with Zig Ziglar and some of the other speakers that we were on the road with. One of them backstage said, Zig, every city we go to, your talk is the exact same. Don't you have more material? I mean, I'm constantly changing things left and right. And Zig says, well, there's two reasons I do that. First, these people in this city, this message is the first time they've ever heard it, and they need to hear it.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay.
But the second one was the most important. And he said, basically, I teach truth, and truth never changes. And so that's kind of the process about having a foundation to your sales plan and to sales training, and to truth never changes. I mean, there are things that are just flat foundational, even with millennials. Now, millennials may not have heard it yet, but when they finally hear it, they go, well, that makes sense.
Right.
Because it's foundational. It's been the same over time, and not like over 20 or 30 or 40 years of time. We're talking about like 2,500 years of time, or 3,000 years of time, or whatever.
Right.
I mean, this is foundational is foundational. I mean, that's the whole point. So again, when it comes to coming on and getting your business back going, it makes sense to go back and re-up and re-nurture existing relationships. Go back and talk to new people. So as an example, in the last couple of days, and actually multiple times yesterday, I've got business relationships from the past that I have nurtured along the way. Have not done business with them, in one case, probably for 4 years, maybe 3, at least 3 years, but probably 4 years. that is all of a sudden calling and asking for my help in a project. And he's calling me. Isn't that a better way to get your business done? But that comes because of a consistent job of nurturing, of communicating, or of helping at a time where there's nothing coming back your way. And people go, well, that's not the way our society is. For the most part, that's true. It's not really the way our society is. It doesn't mean it's not the way our society could be.
Right.
We're the ones who dictate what's right, wrong, good, bad, acceptable, unacceptable. And we're going through so much of that now with verbiage, with communications about, and again, not to go political, but about vanity projects and trying to equate and persuade people that the safety of our country is a vanity project. That's ridiculous.
Well, I have a question.
Oh, I have an answer.
I have a couple of questions. So I went
Awesome.
I wasn't even thinking about today that we talk about sales. I just, in general, for, some things that we're doing each morning, I wanted to know, when I asked everybody, what is your biggest struggle with selling, marketing, and business development? So
Right.
I got some questions.
Awesome.
One was from Jeff Dale. I think that's how he is the owner of Jeff Dale Communications. He's got a couple of books, all that fun stuff. Lots of education, tons of education, knows his stuff, experience. My biggest struggle is the lack of funds to sell, market, and develop.
Well,
all the brains, all the know-how.
Very, very consistent issue these days.
That's why I asked it first.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a very consistent issue. And so the exchange of dollars is simply an exchange of value and an exchange of energy put together. So if there's not enough dollars coming your way, there's not enough value being provided to those who are willing to remunerate you for it, to pay you for it. So how do you do that? Look at your assortment. Look at, your offering assortment.
Mm-hmm.
What is it you're offering? And this is one of the things that entrepreneurs get stuck in. I've certainly been guilty of it myself. I don't think you're an entrepreneur unless you've made this mistake. And that is, you're really in love with your offering and you're a party of one. And you ain't paying you. You ain't paying you for it because you already believe in it.
Right.
So the point is that I think that the number one way to explore that is to look at your offerings. And believe it or not, building funnels with you has really been a wonderful eye-opening experience on business development for me, because we've gone back and there are foolproof ways to sell and market things. And so when you stop reinventing the wheel, right? So we've started, really looking at some of the funnels and some of the things you and I have been doing together as how well have you identified the problem? You got this beautiful, and this happens in websites all the time, and it happens with website developers.
Oh, yes.
They make really pretty websites.
Gorgeous.
That don't accomplish bupkis. or aren't congruent with the messaging that's, so as an example, I did a website review for a client 2 days ago, and they really wanted to know if what their website was saying was congruent with the positioning that they were working to achieve in the marketplace. Okay. In other words, you know me, you know what I'm working to accomplish. Is that what my website says? And I went in and said, there are many spots where it's spot on. And there are many spots that are like, what the hell? And in this day and age, I think you used to be able to get away with some of those what the hell spots. I don't think you do anymore. I think the attention span of people is so short that if they can click out, they click out.
Right.
Which is, I'm not saying is right, wrong, or indifferent. It just is. And so you kind of recognize that. So as I was going through the site, I said, you've kind of identified the problem, but you haven't really identified the problem.
Right.
Right. And so if you haven't identified the problem, I'm probably not going to go any further. And so we modified some things to identify the problem. And I said, and now, if you can't tell me why I should work with you, why are you uniquely qualified to do this? There's plenty of people that I think, now that I know my problem, and I acknowledge my problem, why should I do business with you? You say you have a solution. Why should I believe you have a solution? You understand what I'm saying? So as an example, the description of the person and really their qualifications and their talent and their capabilities was at the bottom of the web page.
Right. And out of view.
Out of view. I had to arrow down for like 8 minutes to get to it. No, it wasn't quite maybe that far down, but you understand what I'm saying, right? It was so far down the page. So it's like, okay, I raised my hand. I got a problem. Well, all you did is make me feel bad that I have a problem, but you haven't showed me how you're the person that I should have fixed that problem, right? So there's sequencing. There was all sorts of different things there. So we modified some of those things, and it was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
And it's it's congruency of things. You start to look at it. Anyway, back to the question. It's evaluate your offerings, and then find the thing that is it somewhat goes back to the digital marketing pattern of provide that initial purchase, right? That EPO, that littler dollars. Let's get you spending money.
Right.
Now that you're accustomed to spending money with me and I over deliver, you'll probably spend money with me again. And now, if you're lacking funding, you got one of two choices. Go find funding, which is a pain in the butt, or sell your way out of it.
I'm a big fan of sell your way out of it now that I'm older and more experienced.
Me too. And so that's, as an example, instead of selling our travel club as our lead product at $198 for an annual membership, we come back around with our travel savings passport, which leads you into the experience and do everything for significantly less money. So that's an example of, it makes all the sense in the world for people to be buying travel club and save. People could save $10,000 or $15,000 a year easy if they do any kind of travel, especially if they do business travel. And it's it's a home run slam. I mean, everybody should that travels in business. And yet, until you get them to experience it themselves, they don't do it. Now, here's what's funny is once they experience the travel savings passports, they jump to Travel Club immediately because they see the savings and they experience it. So as an example, even we were looking at our Travel Club as being the, not the holy grail product, but the lead product, and have reversed our marketing direction to get experience first. So that would be my answer to him is look at your offerings and so let's just say he had a $5,000 consulting package, and well, I'm worth it. I'm sure he is worth it. But not everybody writes a $5,000 check.
Right.
So could you do a $250 consultation hour? Right? Get the $250, get them experience with you, and have them go, holy crap. Well, really, this is a one-off $250 hour consultation. So if we really want to address your problem, it really moves into the other program.
Right.
So that's how I would approach it. I would look at my product mix and look at where I can gain revenue. Where do I solve a problem very quickly? Because people are paying money to have problems solved. That's the general answer. So again, this call that I just got, these guys are willing to write me a big retainer check because they got a problem. And I'm willing to accept that retainer check and help them with that problem. It's a lovely thing going on.
I think that's almost a wonderful one. Like if you need to get started, you have no funds, you have no audience, you are trying to develop the products you really want, go teach somebody how to do what you already know how to do.
Right.
If you've already written 2 books, somebody else wants to know how to do that. Right.
And it might not be your mainstay business. I mean, keep it congruent with what you're doing. So again, our desire is not necessarily to be in the travel business, but our desire is to be in to reward people for their actions business. And if their actions happen to be travel, we want to reward them and make that easier and do that. So again, part of it is how you frame it in your head and how you look at different things. So as an example, because we have the travel product, and I offered to help a friend last night with a live and a webinar she did that had a couple hundred people on it, we gave away a membership to help her get more people to her event. So our contribution was to support her getting more people to her event. Well, now because of that, we've got a call today with the company she works with to look at trying to help other people do the same thing. Look for opportunities to solve people's problems. And that's how you're going to jumpstart somebody's business, your own business. You'll jumpstart theirs too. But the reality is you've got to get visible to them as somebody who solves problems.
All right. That's pretty good for question number 1. Yeah. Let me go over to the next one. I was glad I got some participation here. This was, I think, like you said, it's a question that lots of people have. You know, when you ask a business owner what their biggest struggle with selling, marketing, and business development is, I mean, that's pretty much their only question. They know their job, right? This one is from one of our We Coach Kaivio, one of our initial members, Alejandro, and he is out in Florida. Cool. And the first time he asked the question, I thought he was coming from a different direction. So his question was, or response is, most business owners don't even understand how it works, and there's not enough time to educate them. Now, in the beginning, I thought he was talking about answering the question, not asking a question, because I happen to know he's in some other marketing groups, and he does know a lot of his stuff, and I've worked with him with We Coach Kaivio. But then when I reread it, I realized that is his problem. So he has a product that business owners don't understand how it works, and you don't have enough time to educate them on
Well,
the product.
it's a very consistent problem with a lot of solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, whatever. Quite frankly, unless they are the CFO of the company, the vast majority of the people taking the action in that company don't care how it works. The only thing they really care about is that it works. Again, it's about solving the problem. The reason people don't take action, it would be like if he called me and tried to explain every single detail about Kyvio and how every button within Kyvio works and all that. I'm not buying. And not only am I not buying, I'm hanging up, because I want to know enough to know what I need to know. And so an oversimplification of that is, what's your, as he's talking to his prospective client, what's your number one problem? We aren't getting enough traffic to our page. Pretty specific problem, right?
Yeah.
Totally understand. Is that your only problem? That's our only problem. Traffic. Great. I've got a system that can assure you will get traffic. How do I know that? Because there are metrics available. Well, let's do this. Okay.
You think it would be that simple that people...
Yeah, and that's where I think especially more if you're a digital marketer, and we did this when you self-identified your biology, how you buy, who you are, to be a digital marketer, you have a different buying personality and the way you hear information and the information you need to hear is different than mine. As a sales guy, I just want to know stuff's going to get fixed, and it's going to get fixed really fast.
Right.
And it's going to work. And I'm a little different in that I kind of like to know how it happens, only so that I can, when you say this is how it happens, I can say, oh, that's what I saw happen. Not that I want to do it.
Right.
Right. Now, so the point is, when you have the execution expert working to present to the field sales,
I see where this is going.
there might be a titch of disconnect.
This is why the computer programmers, we were having a conversation. We were in the car this holiday. I got my brother and I got my sister in town, which so rarely happens. And I was talking to my brother. He was like, how is it you're more blonde than our sister? Because my natural hair is very dark. And I was like, well, I was going to go to purple. Before I can dye my hair purple, I had to go all the way to blonde. And Megan was just like, well, let's go get some dye and we'll dye it purple. I was like, man, Megan, I'm forward facing. I have to talk to clients. And my brother chimed in. He's like, yeah, you're the computer programmer in the back. You're not forward facing. You can dye your hair, whatever. But if you're forward facing, and I'm just thinking about my brother who's not forward facing, but he's having to learn how to become so now. He's 27. He's been in computer science, programming, whatever you call it, for a while now. And I'm trying to imagine my highly technical brother who can just sit in one spot and code all day, barely getting up for like lunch and then dinner
Right.
at 9 o'clock at night. Having a conversation with someone forward facing, and he's going to go into all the details and then get frustrated when they don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
But in reality, they don't need to know.
And that's the point is this is it, it's so interesting because I with a sales and marketing guy not too long ago and another client. I mean, I keep on they've got in his book and in it, he's created a definition that is alternate to the readily accepted definition of a word or of a situation.
Okay.
And quite frankly, the vast majority of people, if I were to give you this word, pretty much so if I say, is shiny object syndrome good or bad?
Depends if you're the fish or the fisherman.
Okay. Is it good or bad? You're right. It does. What
for
is
the fisherman, it's great. For the fish, not so much.
Okay. So what's the general, what's the generally accepted, what does that mean?
I think generally speaking, I know when I'm talking to business owners, I tell them that they need to avoid shiny object syndrome.
Okay.
That it's bad.
Right. Okay. So you answered it. Their version of what that means is innovative and disruptive technologies or offerings.
Because if you're the fisherman, it's different.
Exactly.
And if you're utilizing it,
exactly. I mean, but here's the
like,
next question to that. Actually, you've made a great point, and I'm going to use this with my client because you actually made a great point.
At least give me credit.
I will. Are there more fish?
I just thought about that.
Are there more fish or more fishermen?
Oh, more fish.
Exactly. So the fisherman is trying to use his definition to the fish.
It's not going to work.
Hey, that's exactly what I said. Unless you tell the fish that it's actually good for them. In other words, you have to now merchandise that. You have to market that in a different way. Not that you have to get everybody, it doesn't have to be this massive thing, but you do have to recognize that some people see it in a different light. That's my point of this. So it's the same thing for the digital marketer or the coder or the programmer. He believes because he needs to know how everything gets done, that the person purchasing it from him needs to know how everything gets done. No, that's why they're hiring you. I don't want to know how everything gets done. I just want you to do it. And so that's the miss, right? Is when you have a process that takes a long time to explain, I can't explain it all. See, the framing is I have to explain it all. Whereas if the framing was, you know what, the reason you're hiring me because I know it all and can do it all. Well, hell, that's all I need to know. And it really is that simple.
Well, like
present it that way.
To answer, kind of go back to his original question, it comes down to what clients do you want to work with? Right. So if I'm working with a client who has less money and is struggling, right? Anything under 50,000 for sure. Even like broaching 100,000, under 100,000 is just rough because every dollar to them matters, right? Deeply. Right. My clients who are over $1 million, they just want the results. Exactly. Here's an extra $1,000 for your management. every month. Here's $2,500 to spend, and this is real world, very specific company in mind right now.
Right.
Here's 25 in ad dollars. Just go get us clients.
Right.
Clients show up at the door. They show up on the phone. They show up in their email. They convert them really well. That company handles their business once they understand the sales process. Once my marketing stops and the person is in the door, they understand that really well. They're really great at that. Once the client's in the door, they have like an 80% conversion rate on a $1,000 a month product.
Right.
Do you care if your company is going from, or that brand portion is going from $750,000 a year and losing money, because that is the cost of running that business, that portion of the business, and you go to $1.1 million? Do you care
No.
about the couple thousand it took to get you there?
No. And that's the point. So again, I think
And you don't care how.
No, and that's why people come from that's why it's important to know how you're wired, because you tend to present, you being everybody watching this ever in history, you tend to present the way you want to hear it.
Right.
And that's why when we teach you to present in the way they want to hear it, that's why you have greater success. That's what people hire me to do, is help them learn how to present in their customer's style, because it's the customer who writes their check. And so that's why it's so important to understand, and that's why we help people understand who they are. Once you understand who you are, you understand why you do what you do a whole lot better. And you also learn that you can make, again, I teach in a lot of disciplines, in a lot of places where people think somebody has told them, you got to show them that you got skins on the wall. You know, you've got, look at all my diplomas and look at all the education I've got and look at all the, because I'm the authority, and use big words and do all this different stuff. And then you're talking to somebody who doesn't have all those diplomas and doesn't even know the words you're saying. And all they do is go, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Do you want to buy? Uh-uh. Why not? Oh,
that was like
just,
your favorite thing to go over, and it must be that consistent because you say it a lot.
Well, it is. Talk at a 5th grade level, you can always go more technical. If I lose you, because we're having a conversation, you're not just going to walk away. So you placate me, but you won't buy, because you did not. Buying is a result of getting the information you need to make a buying decision. If you don't understand let's go back to Rush Hour 2. Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth? You know,
right.
The point is, if you don't understand what I'm saying, you'll placate me because it's socially uncomfortable not to, but you won't buy.
Right.
Stop being this authoritative goon. I mean, be a person. Help people understand. And that's, out of everything I do sales training wise, demystifying the process is probably one of the biggest things I ever do, is get people to understand selling really isn't all that hard, but people have hacked it up so bad for so long that, and okay, just recognize it. It's not that big a deal. Get over it. I've made lots of mistakes. The reason I've gotten better at things is because I've made mistakes that didn't work. The more things that don't work, the more you find things that do work. Thomas Edison, you know, when he made 10,000 plus attempts to create the light bulb, somebody said, man, what a failure. You made 10,000 mistakes. He said, I didn't make 10,000 mistakes. It was just a 10,000 step process. You know, when he got it right, he got it right.
Right.
It took a lot to get it right. And so the one thing that coaches and mentors do is they help you get it right faster because they've probably made the mistakes.
Right.
I mean, the reason, again, let's go back to that day we were sitting there with that whole room full of people at your office, and you go, man, you've got an answer for every objection.
You did.
The reason is simple. I've heard them all. I've addressed them all. I've addressed them all thousands of times. So the reason you have an answer for all those things is because you've already experienced them many, 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 many times.
Right.
That's why some of us more mature, that's code word for old, some of us more mature coaches and mentors are advantageous. We've been there and done that. You know,
right.
When I see a 23-year-old life coach, I love them, I hug on them. You're 23, not an overall judgment, other than if you've been on the planet longer, you've probably experienced more. Just saying. Just that's common. That's logical. That's common sense. It's not a disparaging judgment. It's a.
You can be a life coach. Yeah, to someone in middle school.
Exactly. Now, if that's your market, I'm all for you. You're right. I came through middle school and I'm ready to help all middle school.
I think I would be a very poor life coach to a middle school student. I'm too out of touch.
Okay. So you understand what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
I don't work to disparage anybody. I try to encourage everybody. You know, the point is that we tend to get caught in our own stuff. And so again, let's go back to that. I would just say simplify what you're doing and tell them you'll solve their problem. Again, sales presentation is funny. Jenna, what's your problem? I need more leads. That's great. I'm probably one of the best people on the planet to get you more leads. You ready to get started? Well, no, you haven't told me anything about it. Oh, I'm sorry. What do you want to know? Stop trying to teach people what you think they need to know.
Right.
Ask them what they want to know. It shortens the time frame. It gets more on topic. It gives you greater success faster. I mean, I get this call from this company or from this friend. He said, I'm putting together a team to go solve this company's problem. I said, what's their problem? He said, nobody knows how to communicate their message. I said, the good news is I'm uniquely qualified to do that. I'm really freaking good at that. I've done 8 infomercials. I've sold 25 million from stage. I've done 2,500 presentations in front of 1 million people live. I'm your guy. He goes, I think you are. Okay, boom. Literally, that's the process.
Yep. I get it. I think it's hard to do. We want to explain it. We want to. I mean, it's interesting that you asked, like, what is it you want to know? It reminds me of like Perry's 3-question close. You know, you go in, you introduce yourself, you give a quick 60-second blurb, kind of like you just did there about, you know, your qualifications. Really quick. You're not going on about you. Hey, what are your goals? That's cool. Why haven't you met your goals yet? All right, that's cool. How can I help?
And as opposed to the word help, because nobody wants help, how can I be of service?
There we go.
Again, word crafting and all this stuff it sounds minuscule, but it's
no, but it matters. I'd like you say that.
It's all of it.
The guy who runs the Veterans Business Operations Center out in Arlington, he's the same way. And he's like, if you go out to a veteran and you say, you know, we'll help, they get the completely wrong idea.
Exactly.
They think that you're going to do it for them. And they're like, that's not what we're here to do.
No. So hopefully that answers that question. Any more questions?
I do, but I'm going to save that one for a different day. One, I want more information from them because it sounds like a really good one about selling a service where people don't understand the need and there's no immediate return on investment.
Well, that's selling any intangible. So, I mean, and go ahead and get more information on that. But in essence, so I am, if you were to classify me as a sales trainer, I am a conceptual value added presentation expert. Conceptual value added presentation expert. So let's break that apart. There's price selling, which is dependent upon the price. And there is there brand selling. And brand is dependent upon a concept. Tell me why somebody buys something at Neiman Marcus.
Because they like paying 7 times marked up price off retail?
I'm pretty sure they don't. Because it's a premium brand. They feel good about shopping there. There's a savoir-faire. There's that's a concept. Somebody has bought into the concept that buying at Neiman Marcus is better than buying at Sears.
Significantly, because Sears is going out of business,
which is why it's going out of business.
But in fairness, Neiman Marcus almost went out of business
absolutely in a different way, because they didn't stick to their concept. So the point is, when you're a conceptual value added presenter, you're always adding value. You're not taking away price. The reason you get higher prices, the reason you get higher margins, is because you have shared so much more value. The reason that one brand of landing page software sells for more is because they've been around longer and shown to the marketplace, quote unquote, greater value. Do they in essence do the exact same thing? Yes. Not completely, I get that. But you understand where I'm going with this. So the point is, it always becomes about adding value. And so that's why it bugs the heck out of me when people say, I'm going to teach you how to be a platform speaker. How many speeches do you do? Well, I don't actually speak. I just teach people how to do it. I'm going to be a digital marketing consultant. Why? Because I have an active funnel on the internet. It's just as crazy a statement.
Right.
Right. So again, it's about adding value to this. Now, that's why when people sit there and say, well, why don't you do this and do this and do this and do this? Because I'm not going to lower myself to somebody else's thing. What I'm going to do is stand strong in who I know I am and how I do it. And all of a sudden my phone rings and says, hey, can you help us turn around this company? Sure.
Right.
Done it many, many times. Let's do it again. This will be fun. So again, if you don't know who you are and what you do and why you do it, again, let's get back into some of these digital marketers that are asking these questions. Well, they're
not actually all digital marketers. They run the gamut.
Okay, but I'm just saying, so for a digital marketer who's out there trying to sell their services to the president of some company or to the vice president of sales of some company and going, well, I need to tell you how this works. No, you don't. I can tell you the only thing they want to know. How many people am I going to get? How fast can I sell them? How do I do it? And can you do it better than somebody else? That's all I want to know.
That's true. And can
So
you prove it? Is it?
yeah,
I
and,
would
and
say, like, you know,
are
is
there
it?
metrics that prove that?
There's companies that have done very well in digital marketing because they came around, instead of saying pay me first, they said you can buy the lead, so you only have to pay us once you get the lead.
Right.
So, and it's interesting. I know the model. I know the guy who's really pushing it, especially for Facebook ads. And it's incredibly successful for the digital marketer, but people don't realize how much they're paying for the lead. I think that's the hard.
I can tell you, back in the day when I did 288 talks a year and we were filling rooms, we spent $700,000 a week on infomercial placement. What that calculated down to is it cost $172 per person to sit in a chair to hear us. And so we knew the numbers down to the T. It was people go 100. Do you know what it takes to put somebody in a chair typically these days? Probably $250 to $500.
Is that a paid seat or a free seat?
That was a free seat. So do you understand why you have to be productive from stage? Because if your model is to put them in the seat for free, that means a certain percentage of that audience has to buy to cover that $700,000.
Wow. A large amount has to buy.
Absolutely. So that's why seminars have shrunken in attendance, because the outbound promoting has gotten there were models. I mean, I know these models inside and out, actually. For a one-day event, the promotion for the one-day event was $1.5 million. Cost $1.5 million to put on a one-day event. Now that sounds like a lot, right?
How many people?
But that actually is not the relevant part. 25,000. A lot of people. But $1.5 million to put on the event. But the return was $2.5 to $5 million. So it was $1.5 million to do it, but you made $1 million to more than that to accomplish that. Okay. Here's the difference today. Nobody wants to put up the $1.5 million up front. Nobody wants to take 3 months to make you a customer. They want you to become a customer today. And if you don't, you're dead to me. It's the same kind of, we've lost the process of nurturing relationships. So those of us who still do that are actually getting business. We might not be getting as much business from new people.
Yeah.
Because their buying process is different, but we're capturing most of the business from old people, meaning old customers. Because they've tried to do business with new people and they don't like the way they're treated, so they come back. And they go, I don't know why we ever stopped doing business with you in the first place. Or can we do it like we used to do it? Sure. Why couldn't we? Right? And
right.
Obviously you're always modifying your approaches and things like that. But that's why after you put things out and you work and you work and you work, that's why customers come back to you.
Right.
So again, I love doing these, especially with the questions, because I can sit here and pontificate all sorts of different training. But it's much better to actually answer and solve somebody's issue.
No, I agree. Well, they're specific, and no person's question is hyper unique, right?
Not
these
really.
people, anybody who has especially a sales question, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Selling
some
is
people
selling.
do the same
That's
thing.
that's what people go. Well, I've had this happen. I don't know, too many times to count. Well, have you ever trained in our industry? Nope. That's exactly why you should hire me. What? See, everybody who's trained in your industry is going to tell you the same crap you've heard the whole time that probably hasn't worked to begin with.
I've used that same line in digital marketing for the exact same reason.
I got fresh eyes. Let me come in and tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Yep.
And that's the point. Selling is selling. Selling is about relationships. Period. And this ain't so hard. Well, but relationships take time. Yes, they do. Well, guess what? It's like a marriage. Well, 50% of those go bad. You know why? Because nobody invests the time. It's not that hard. I mean, it's effort. I didn't say it's not effort. But the point is, what do you want the end result to be? I mean, I get it. I'm empathetic to it. I'm part of the not have as much stuff as I used to club.
Right.
I get it. But the point is, once it happened, I didn't want it to happen again. And you modify.
Right.
So the point is, it's like anything. If you really want to know how to present better, find somebody who does it well and be mentored. Oh, we just got a late comment.
We got here.
Jeremy says,
so that was one of the questions we
good.
answered. I firmly believe an outsider's view is really important. Outsider will see things you don't see, also called institutional blindness.
Well put. Exactly what I'm saying. The reason what I am is an expert in how to present a message so the message gets through. And that's ultimately what has to happen. So again, I'm serious. I've sold everything from appliances to health products to there's probably nothing that I haven't at one time sold or presented. Tangible products, intangible products. An example of an intangible product is life insurance. So you mean I get to use this when I die? No, you're dead. Your family gets to use it. You don't. I mean, you've got to understand. Well, but the point is, that's why you've got to learn how to present it. So you're not presenting the death benefit. You don't present a death benefit in insurance. You present your family legacy moving forward. And thank you for planning for their future.
You make it about them again.
Exactly. Again, that's where I started my career, was in insurance. So the point is, but I was
feel like that's like illegal drug dealing. Like every guy at some point in their life has sold insurance or financial products.
Well, it's possible. It was a great education because you had to learn, you were presenting the concept of a family getting over your passing. And I was 18 years old selling it to 40, 50, and 60 years old. So again, I understand what quote unquote today's millennials are up against. I had to learn how to do that, and I got really good at it really fast. But what that's done is allowed me to sell virtually anything, which is why I get the calls I get.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's not about, if you're launching a company or launching a project. That's why you and I are working together. This ain't about creating a funnel. Nobody wants a funnel. Nobody cares about a funnel. They want the money the funnel delivers. They want the time freedom the funnel delivers. They want the, I said it last night, I said it yesterday in a training. We're all in one business. We're quality of life merchants.
Quality of life merchants. What would you call that? What's the business version of that?
Quality of life merchant. I want a greater quality of life. My business is just part of my life. I want a greater quality of life. I don't want the stress from my business. So think about it. It goes over into everything. It's like, again, people, nobody cares what you do. Nobody cares, quite frankly, nobody cares how you do it. They just want what you do done. I mean, if you don't overcomplicate this thing, that's why people go, oh, selling is so hard. No, it's not. Well, you say it's not hard. Okay. Do you have a problem? Yes. What's your problem? They say it. Would you like that problem solved? Yes. How much would you be willing to pay to have that problem solved? X. That's awesome, because actually, can I share an idea with you? Certainly. I know a way to solve that problem at half of X. Would you do it for me? Sure. Boy, there's your whole sales process. I don't need to get into all the different crud surrounding it unless I choose to. And unfortunately, too many people get trained that way. They get trained to, don't you understand that I need to explain how many bits per second this is coming down the path, and I've got this much capacity, and oh my God.
Don't care.
You're making me brain dead.
Goodness, we are actually 10 minutes over time now.
All right.
Jeremy, I want you to know that we kind of started your question about 40 minutes in. So if you want more information and I didn't really go into depth about yours because I wanted to get more information.
But we will.
Yeah. So I really understand. But he did cover some lightly of where you were going with that. And every Friday on Double Funnel TV, we are talking about sales. Next week, I'm hoping to start where we work with one person for the whole week. Awesome. And so I was thinking strategies on Monday, some lead gen on Tuesday, sales page on Wednesday, email on Thursday, and sales that is specific to that industry and that funnel on Friday.
Perfect.
See how that goes?
Yeah.
And if you want to be that person we work with for an entire week, to get the help from me literally building your funnel, which I normally charge anywhere from $4,000 to $21,000 to do. And Scott over here, who, I mean, we've spent all day, or not all day, all morning, kind of taking some of his sales knowledge. But if you want that to be you, if you want over 5 hours of consulting and actual implementation, go over to Double Funnel TV, apply. And here's the big one. This is where that funnel is breaking down. There's 7 steps, starting with application. Go through each one.
Absolutely.
Our help is free. There are a couple requirements, though. Got to go through the process. Got to get us your information. All right, though. But thank you so much, Scott. I think that's really helpful, and I think people enjoy getting their specific questions answered.
I love doing that.
The only thing I find interesting is it's amazing how many of the answers are exactly the same response.
It's
fundamentals.
It's fundamentals. I teach truth, and truth doesn't change.
Truth doesn't change. Nope. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Thanks, Scott, today very much for putting some truth bombs on us. And we will see you Monday morning, bright and early.
Cool. I'm going to send you a quick link afterwards. See you,
That
everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye, guys.